Hello Pakistan and welcome to Paki Tech Reviews. हमेशा की तरह मेरा goal, मेरा azm is to help you make the best decisions in choosing your gadgets. The last 3 reviews that we've done have all been very popular smartphones. Lekin, contrary to popular belief, Paki Tech Reviews does not only review popular smartphones. We also review other useful gadgets that are very popular. तो ऐसा कौन सा gadget है that is not a smartphone but is still very popular? Well, the product that we're going to talk about today sold out in the first few hours in all the major stores in the United States. Release के दिन people waited in line for this product for hours and hours. Lekin, some of them were still not lucky enough to get a hold of one. And to add to this product sold over 1 million units in the first week of its release just in the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the product that I'm talking about is the very popular, the very cool, and what Apple refers to as magical iPad 2. iPad के बारे में बहुत से लोगों का इनिशियल इंप्रेशन ये होता है कि दिस इज जस्ट एन ओवरग्रोन iPod टच, या कि ये ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जिसकी इनको वाकई में कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. I personally used to hold that opinion, लेकिन अभी कुछ दिनों पहले मैंने अपना पर्सनल ओरिजिनल iPad परचेज किया. And after using it for a little while, believe me, I was convinced that this is a very good product to have. This product is so good that it just finds a way to make a place for itself in your lifestyle. And after releasing the iPad 2, Apple has actually improved on an already very good product. And unless something very extraordinary comes around in the near future, I will be sure to upgrade to the iPad 2 for my own self. So, is the product जिसकी मैं इतनी तारीफें कर रहा हूँ really worth it? Well, don't just take my word for it, because we're gonna find out in the pros section. If you could say just one thing about Apple, it would be that Apple puts a lot of time, energy, and effort into making its products beautiful and sturdy at the very same time. And the iPad 2 is no exception to that rule. As soon as you pick up the product, you can be sure of one thing, that it is very well built and beautiful at the same time. It's aluminum on the back and this gorgeous screen on the front. And compared to the original iPad, this one is actually very thin and very light. Also, because of the slight change in the design, this one is actually easier to hold. I have discussed the build quality and the physical features of the iPad 2 in greater detail in my unboxing and first impression video. I have the link for you in the description bar below, so make sure you check it out. But in a nutshell, the build quality and the physical appearance of the iPad 2 is bound to make you fall in love with it. When you turn the device on, you're welcomed by this beautiful 9.7 inches LED IPS display. It is supposedly the same screen that is used on the original iPad, lekin when I compared the two side by side, I actually felt that this one has better color and clarity. I have to remind you though that the difference was only minor. The resolution of the screen is a very good 1024 by 768 pixels. Now this screen may not be as bright or as crisp as the display on the iPhone 4 or some Super AMOLED displays out there on smartphones, लेकिन इस screen को किसी भी लिहाज से एक inferior screen नहीं कहा जा सकता. When you start using the screen, you will realize that the screen is so responsive and so accurate that there is no surprise that the iPad is considered the benchmark amongst tablets. So the big enough size, the great resolution, the great quality, and the responsiveness and accuracy of the screen make it one of the best features of the iPad. Another very important thing that makes these iPads, the iPhones, and the iPod Touches such great products is the iOS interface. Now the iPad's interface is similar to that of the iPhone, however, it is not the same. Apple has utilized the bigger real estate of the iPad screen in a very effective way. And all the popular applications, just like your mail application, your photo album application, your iPod music player application, and your YouTube application have been tweaked accordingly. For example, if you use the photo application, your photos are now organized in an album view. And on the iPad, browsing through your photos now becomes a much more appealing experience. Similarly, now when you open up your mail, it is displayed in a fashion that is more similar to a desktop computer's rather than on the iPhone. Also, now when you open up your iPod music player, you are greeted with an interface that resembles the iTunes interface. This experience is also different from what you're used to seeing on your iPods. And just like these examples, there are thousands and thousands of applications available now that are customized for the iPad itself. So when you are using applications on your iPad, you actually enjoy a different experience. Just like I mentioned, there are thousands of applications available specifically for the iPad, which means now you can customize your iPad just the way you want it to make it your very own. When you get to all the good additions that Apple has made in terms of hardware, you're not disappointed either. In being an upgrade from the original iPad, the iPad 2 now comes with an A5 1GHz dual-core processor. Apple has also increased the RAM in the iPad 2 to a full 512 megabytes. These hardware improvements greatly complement the interface and make the iPad an even more fun product to use. So not only is the iPad beautiful, easy and fun to use, but is also a very powerful device. While we're on the topic of hardware improvements, we have to mention the addition of 2 cameras on the iPad 2. You have your front-facing VGA camera, which is used for video chats using Apple's FaceTime software or Skype. And you have the rear camera, which can be used to take pictures and record HD video. Now the rear camera may not be the best selling point of the iPad 2, but it is still a very useful addition. The resolution of the camera is very low, it only supports 0.7 megapixel still photos, but it is still capable of recording video in high definition. And just to give you an idea of how effectively this camera can be utilized, consider this, there are more than 65,000 applications for the iPad that utilize the iPad's camera in one way or the other. So the creativity with which you can use the iPad's camera is actually limitless. And as a constellation to the low resolution of the still image camera, the image quality of the still photos is better than what you would expect. Another great addition in terms of the hardware is the gyroscopic sensor built into the iPad 2. Just like with the iPhone 4, the iPad 2 can recognize 3-dimensional movements, and when you use that capability to play games on this big screen, it becomes a very fun experience. So when we sum it all up, the iPad 2 becomes such a great and fun device that when you pick it up, you don't want to put it down. With a powerful processor, a great interface, unlimited customization, and a lot of fun games, you simply want to keep on using the iPad 2 over and over. So in great thinking from Apple in not letting the fun end, Apple has included a very powerful and very long-lasting battery in the iPad 2. Under normal usage, the iPad 2's battery can last anywhere from 8 to 10 full hours. इसका मतलब ये है कि you can continue to enjoy using your iPad for long periods of time without having to worry about recharging. So in concluding the good stuff, you will realize that there are a lot of reasons that make you fall in love with the iPad. लेकिन there are still a few things that might deter you from buying one. इतने अच्छे प्रोडक्ट में ऐसी क्या खामियां हो सकती हैं? We'll try to find out in the cons section. I personally think that the iPad 2 is such a good product that there could hardly be any reason that you would not want to buy one. Lekin, there are still limitations worth considering that might actually stop you from making the purchase. A lot of people consider the iPad 2 to be a product that you would really want, but not a product that you would really need. इसका मतलब ये है कि unlike a cell phone, this is not really a necessity for a lot of people. But if you're in the category of people that are able to justify their wants, you may be able to overlook this issue. One serious issue that limits a lot of people from being able to purchase this gadget is the price of the product. The iPad 2 by no means is a cheap device. और क्योंकि ये product market में readily available नहीं है या short है, a lot of people are charging you a premium over the actual price. So if you're going to make the purchase, you may have to think of a lot of creative ways to justify the price. Keeping in mind the price of the iPad 2, there is also an additional financial downside. See, when you purchase an iPad 2, your spending doesn't necessarily stop right there. One thing that makes Apple products so appealing is the amount of accessories that you can purchase with them. And sadly, iPad 2 ki accessories are very expensive. So if you want to buy additional iPad accessories like a protective case, a video out cable, or speakers, you may have to spend a lot more money. Lekin, if you do decide to purchase additional accessories, all these purchases actually make the iPad experience more and more appealing. So just like the price of the iPad, you would have to justify the price of the accessories that you buy. There is one accessory, however, that I would definitely recommend that you buy, and that would be a protective case for your iPad 2. The reason for buying that accessory is that the iPad's body is very slippery because you have glass on the front and slippery aluminum on the back. So if you're one of the unlucky ones, the iPad 2 might just slip out of your hand, fall and break. माना कि iPad 2 is very beautifully and very properly built, ये फिर भी एक बहुत नाजुक डिवाइस है. एक छोटी सी चीज worth mentioning is because the iPad 2 is slimmer than the original iPad, Apple has used a glass on the front screen that is actually thinner than that of the original iPad. इसका मतलब ये है कि गिरने की सूरत में iPad 2 के टूटने के चांसेस ज्यादा हैं. But then again, if you buy a device that is so expensive, you're bound to take extra good care of it anyways. एक और issue with the iPad in terms of this being a very fragile product is that अगर आपका iPad खराब हो जाता है, getting it repaired is very expensive. पाकिस्तानी मार्केट में iPad के parts readily available नहीं होते, and if you're able to locate them, you will have to pay a lot of money. This comes with the fact that Pakistan mein iPad is not available under warranty. As things stand, authorized dealers in Pakistan are still not offering the iPad 2 under warranty. So अगर आपका iPad गिर के टूट जाता है या खराब हो जाता है, you will actually be going through a lot of trouble. Let's talk a little bit about software drawbacks as well of the iPad 2. जहां तक सॉफ्टवेयर की बात आती है, iPad 2 के साथ बहुत ज्यादा बड़े मसले नहीं हैं, लेकिन there are still a few small quibbles that could have been improved. सबसे पहले तो ये कि just like any mobile Apple product, the iPad 2 does not support Adobe Flash. इसका मतलब ये है कि even though the iPad 2 is such a good device for surfing your web, you are still limited with the lack of Adobe Flash. Rumors ये कहते हैं कि in the near future, Apple might be working in conjunction with Adobe to bring Flash to the iPad 2, लेकिन that news is still not confirmed. लेकिन if you visit a lot of websites with a lot of Flash content, you might be a little bit disappointed with the iPad 2. Also, I mentioned that iPad 2 has a lot of applications available for customization. लेकिन unlike the applications for the iPhone, iPad की applications पाकिस्तानी market में इतनी ज़्यादा readily available नहीं हैं. Sure, you might find some guys that are able to install iPad applications for you, but I can assure you they are very limited in numbers. और अगर आप iPad की applications App Store के through download करना चाहते हैं, you will be disappointed as well. Because compared to the iPhone applications, a higher percentage of iPad applications are actually paid, which means you have very limited options in downloading them. If you do, however, jailbreak your iPad, there are still a lot more applications available for download. So when it comes to a lot of applications for the iPad, it becomes a sweet and sour deal. एक और बात जो कि worth mentioning है is that the iPad 2 is not a communication device in the sense that this cannot make phone calls or send or receive messages. And a lot of activity for the iPad takes place online. और अगर आपके घर में Wi-Fi access available नहीं है, the uses for the iPad become very limited. So in that regard, if you are purchasing an iPad, I would highly recommend that you buy a Wi-Fi router as well. So in conclusion, if you're able to justify the high price of the product and its accessories, and you're able to look past some minor software limitations, this is a very good device to have. In fact, so much so that it is safe to say that the benefits of the iPad surpass its limitations by far. Though if you do agree with me and make up your mind in making the purchase of an iPad 2, these are the buying tips that you need to keep in mind. I'm going to do this part sitting in the center for a change. सबसे पहले तो you have to keep in mind that the iPad comes in 12 different variants. First and foremost, you have a color choice between a black and a white iPad. उसके बाद you have to make a choice depending on your budget on what capacity of the iPad to get. Since the iPad does not have an expansion slot, you are only limited to the available onboard memory. And in this regard, you have three options. You have 16 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes, or a full-blown 64 gigabytes of internal storage available. And finally, all the black and white models that have 16, 32, or 64 gigabytes of memory come in two versions. You have the Wi-Fi only version, and then you have the Wi-Fi plus 3G version. The 3G version of the iPad is more expensive because it has the capacity of supporting a micro SIM. The SIM tray is so flushly built in that you can barely see, but it is there. I would, however, highly recommend against getting the 3G version. इसकी वजह ये है कि in Pakistan 3G networks are not available yet. And even though you can put a SIM into the iPad that supports GPRS or edge connections, the speed will not be so satisfying. Sure, you will be able to perform some basic tasks like checking your email or browsing some simple web pages, but it is not a very enjoyable experience. And in my personal opinion, you should look for a Wi-Fi hotspot rather than using the edge speed network. Just like I mentioned before, there is no warranty available for the iPads in Pakistan, so keep that in mind in making your purchase. Additionally, since people are charging premiums for the iPad since it's short in the market, you should hunt for a very good deal. It may still be a very expensive product, but you might be able to save a few $1,000s. Like all in all, I would say that the iPad 2 is a very good product to have. And if you buy one, you will surely not be sorry. I will be doing a comparison between the iPad and the iPad 2 in the near future, so stay tuned for that as well. And if you have any concerns, questions, or comments about the iPad 2, make sure you leave me a comment on my YouTube channel. I will try to respond to as many as I can as soon as I can. Keep in mind that I constantly update my blog with interesting news, reviews, and updates, so make sure you follow me on my blog as well. Also, the same information that is available on my blog is also available on my Facebook and my Twitter page. So I would highly recommend that you join those as well. The links for my blog, my Twitter page, and my Facebook page are all listed in the description bar below. I hope this review has helped, and some additional information is also available in the unboxing and first impression video. If you want to have a look at that video, you can click the link right here, or you can click the link in the description bar. Like always, I hope this review helps, and thank you for watching, Pakistan.